$387. That is what I paid for 3 external links in July, and I have gone through that spend line by line elsewhere on this channel. The same month, I had pages on my own sites with nothing linking to them. Not one link from anywhere, including from me. Fixing that costs nothing and took an afternoon. I had not done it. I had happily wired money to a stranger for a guest post instead. So today is internal links, the only part of link building you fully control and the part almost nobody does properly because there is nobody selling it to you. Why this work never gets done. There is an entire industry attached to external links: sellers, marketplaces, agencies, outreach tools, brokers, Telegram groups full of people trading placements. Money moves through all of it, so attention follows. Internal linking has none of that. No invoice, no seller, no dashboard emailing you a monthly report. The closest thing to a product is a plugin checkbox labeled related posts, and I will come back to that one because it is exactly where I went wrong. So it sits in the same category as the outbound audit I did last month. A number nobody looks at because nobody profits from you looking at it. For context on that audit, our own site had 15,321 do follow links pointing out and 16 pointing in. I went in staring at the outbound direction. The same crawl also produced the internal link graph, and I ignored that half of the file for about a week. When I finally opened it, the internal picture was worse, in the sense that it was more obviously my own fault. The only linking you control. Think about what buying a link actually gets you. You ask someone or you pay someone, they pick the page. They usually pick the anchor, or they push back on the one you asked for. They decide whether it is still there in 6 months. One of the 3 links I bought does not exist anymore, and I paid for it upfront. Internal links work differently. You own the page, the anchor, the position in the body, and the decision to leave it there. Nothing expires. Nobody emails you asking for a renewal fee, and you can change every bit of it in an afternoon without asking permission from anybody. Complete control at zero cost ought to make this the first thing anyone does. It is almost always the last. Orphan pages. Start with the ugliest version of the problem. An orphan page is a page on your site with no internal link pointing at it. You can reach it from a sitemap or by typing the URL, and that is all. People assume this is rare. On a site that publishes steadily, it is normal, and the mechanism behind it is boring. You publish an article. From it, you link back to 2 or 3 older pieces because you are writing and you remember what you already wrote. Then you publish the next one and do the same thing. Every new page sends links backwards in time. Nothing sends links forward. The older article never gets edited to point at the newer one. Why would it? It is finished, it is live, you moved on that day and never opened it again. So after a year of publishing 1 piece a day, you have 365 pages, and the only thing pointing at most of them is a paginated archive. Another C1P complicated one is It exists so the site does not technically orphan the article, which is a different thing from actually linking to it. Several of the sites I run look precisely like this. Published on schedule for years, and the large share of the pages have nothing pointing at them except the archive that produced them. The count that takes an afternoon. The audit is simple enough that the only real reason to skip it is that nobody ever told you to run it. Crawl your own site. Any crawler does this. Extract every internal link with its source page and its destination URL. Group by destination and count. Then sort ascending. The interesting end of that list is the bottom, which is the opposite of how every SEO tool you own presents data to you. 3 groups fall out immediately. Pages with 0 inbound internal links. That is your orphan list, and it is where you start. Pages with exactly 1, where that one is the archive. Functionally the same problem, slightly better disguised. And internal links pointing at pages that no longer exist. We found a bad case of this. A sibling property had lost 334 articles at some point, all returning 404, and the site was still linking to them from its own pages. A site that links internally to its own missing articles is the clearest neglect signal there is, and it is entirely self-inflicted. What I got wrong. Here's the part I am less pleased about. Years ago, I put a related post block on one of these sites. It renders at the bottom of every article 6 links, automatic. I looked at it, decided internal linking was handled, and never thought about it again. When I finally counted, that blog was pulling from the same small set of recent posts on nearly every page. So a handful of pages were collecting thousands of internal links each, and everything else collected nothing. The number that hid it from me was the average. Internal links per page looked completely healthy. Average is the wrong measure for this because a template link inflates it uniformly and tells you nothing about how the links are spread. The median would have caught it in a second. So would sorting ascending, which is why I keep saying sort ascending. I had a widget and I called it a strategy. It was a footer with extra steps. Why site-wide links are worth less? That experience generalizes, and it is worth saying plainly. A link that appears on every page distinguishes nothing. If all 4,000 of your pages link to the same destination, that link carries no information about which page thought it was relevant. It is furniture, navigation, footers, sidebars, automatic related blocks, all furniture. A link inside the body of one article, surrounded by text about the same subject, is a decision. Somebody chose that destination from that context in that sentence. That is the part that carries a signal. The practical consequence is that you cannot fix an orphan by adding it to the footer. You will add 4,000 links and change nothing about how the page is understood. You will also make your link counts look busier while the actual problem sits untouched. Link from your strongest pages to your newest ones. This is the whole mechanism, and it runs opposite to what most sites do. You already have a few pages stronger than the rest. The ones with genuine external links pointing at them, the ones that have been up for years and got cited by someone. On every site I have looked at, that is 5 or 6 pages out of hundreds. Those pages are your distribution. Treat them that way. When you publish something new that genuinely relates to one of them, go and edit the old page. Put the link in the body, in the paragraph where it belongs, not in a see also list bolted onto the bottom. It takes 2 minutes and everybody skips it because in your head the old article is finished. The habit that works is attaching it to publishing. Every time you publish, edit 2 older pages. No separate project, no quarterly initiative that dies in week 3. Anchor text. Internal anchors are one of the few places in SEO where you get to be completely obvious. With external links, there is a real reason for caution. 100 exact match anchors pointing at you from sites you paid for is a pattern, and it is a pattern because you did not have 100 separate editors making 100 independent choices. Internally, you wrote both ends. Google knows you control your own template and your own body copy. There is no version of this where anchor variation fools anybody, so stop trying. Use the words the page is actually about. If the destination is about crawl budget, the anchor says crawl budget. Click here wastes it. Read more wastes it. This article wastes it, and so does pasting the destination's bare URL. One real caution, and it is about clarity rather than penalties. Do not use the same anchor for 2 different destinations. If half your pages say keyword research pointing at one guide and the other half say keyword research pointing at a different guide, you have built an ambiguity that nothing can resolve on your behalf. Why I care about this commercially? We sell placements. A do follow link on an article on one of these properties goes for $250. If that article has nothing internal pointing at it, I am selling a link on an island. The buyer is paying for position on a page that my own site treats as though it does not exist. Internal linking is the only method I know of raising the value of inventory I already own without spending money on it. An afternoon of work across the pages we sell from, and every placement on those pages is worth more than it was that morning. I should have done that before I went shopping for external links. What it cannot do. Now the limit, because this is where posts like this usually oversell. Internal linking cannot make a page rank for something it does not deserve. It redistributes whatever the site already has. If the site has nothing, you are dividing 0 into smaller pieces. I tried it on a thin page once, deliberately, to see what would happen. Pointed a stack of body links at it from the better pages on the site. I have no ranking story to tell you from that experiment, which is the honest version of what happened. So treat it as a multiplier on something that already exists. A page that is genuinely useful and genuinely invisible is where an internal link pass does real work. A thin page stays thin with more links pointing at it. How to run the pass? Work down the zero list from the top. For each orphan, find 2 or 3 existing pages where a link to it would make sense to somebody reading. Put it in the body, inside a sentence that was going to exist anyway. If you cannot find a single page where that link would make sense, treat it as information rather than a problem. The page has no home in the site. Either it needs a hub above it or it should never have been published, and you have just learned which of your topic ideas were off target. Hook pages are worth building for any subject you have more than 5 articles about. One page that introduces the topic in real prose and links out to each piece at the point where it comes up. It gives the orphans a parent, and it gives you somewhere sensible to point external links. Do not overdo density. 20 internal links jammed into one paragraph reads badly, and each one is worth less than the 2 you would have picked carefully. The number to track? One number. The count of pages with 0 inbound internal links. Check it after any large publishing run and once a quarter otherwise. It should trend towards 0, and it never quite arrives because you keep publishing. That is fine. Femlisi run. If it jumps, something structural changed. A template edit, a plugin update, a category restructure that quietly stopped linking to half your archive. The internal link audit I ran, with the crawl queries behind it, is up at thisalldesk.com. Subscribe for SEO that has actually been tested.